So the easiest way to break down your traveling meals would be to take the trip that you have planned and divide it into sections. Now, if I said that you would have it's the same meal every 7 days, you'd probably be quite happy with that. And if we then take those 7 meals and we just duplicate, it means that on 14 days we'll repeat every meal twice and you have a 14-day trip covered. On a 21-day tour you would have it 3 times, but you have a 3-week trip covered. And that's how I do Serengeti, the Gorillas, the longer trips that I do, is I basically just break it up into 7-day stints. And I repeat each meal every 7 days. And it makes it easier because my planning now just goes around 7 meals. Now I found that if you do 7 days and you're traveling, day 7 is normally not a concern because you're either going to have an extra restaurant meal, or you're going to have leftovers, or you're going to find a piece of meat that you wanted to braai, or you've got some fish somewhere. So every 7 days you're probably going to have a meal that sorts itself out, leftovers, whatever. So let's work on a 7-day cycle and not worry about meal number 7, because 7 will actually just take care of itself. If you're going to Kagalagadi or Central Kalahari where you can't buy food for 7 days, then obviously you'll cater for that 7th day. But if you're traveling and you're going past shops and things like we do, then day 7 is not going to be a worry. So let's work on 6 days that I have to plan for and prepare myself for. Now in that 7-day cycle, one of the days will be a restaurant meal. We're going to find a pizza place, fish and chips place next to the Great Lakes, lovely fish and chips that you find up there. If we're at the coast, we'll do some seafood. So somewhere we will do a restaurant meal. That's one of them. Then we will have a pasta night for one evening and find a nice, or take along a bit of pasta or lasagna or something like that. So that's a pasta meal. Then we will braai one night. One night in a week to have a braai is not a bad idea. So that's a braai night. Then 2 pre-cooked meals, which is frozen and packed away, that is easy to do. So that brings us up to number 5, and then maybe a curry or a stew on the 6th day. And as I say, day number 7 I'm not going to worry about because that will sort itself out. So looking at that, we have to repeat pasta every 7 days, a braai every 7 days, frozen meals every 7 days. There's 2 of them in the cycle, and so we carry on. So all I'm worried about is the 6 meals, which has a restaurant in it, so it brings it down to 5. So now I have to think of my 5 favorite meals that I can cook. 2 of them will be frozen, and in my courses I show you which different frozen meals you can actually do. So we'll go through the frozen stuff on one side. That could be stews, it could be vegetable dishes, it could be lasagna, it could be anything that you can freeze and defrost comfortably. So all you really need to think about are those 5 meals. What do you like to do and what do you like to eat? So consult your partner and say we have to focus on 5 meals and you have to repeat that every 7 days. What are those 5 meals that we're going to do? 1 is a pasta, 2 will be frozen, 1 would be a stew or a curry, and 1 would be whatever the last one was. And that's the way you think about it. So work on 7-day cycles. Take day number 7 out because that's going to sort itself out. Take day number 6 out because that will be a restaurant meal, and work on the 5 days that you have to plan for. And if you do it in that way, then it's very easy to think of the meals. You don't have to think of 30 meals, you only think of 5. And that 5 would be typically 5 that you enjoy, and that can quite often that can freeze easy as well. Because frozen meals does make a big difference. So if we look at the meals that we will be freezing, we'll be looking at the food types that freezes well, defrosts well, and that you rather enjoy. So which meals would freeze well? As I said, things like stews and curries freezes generally very well. I keep potatoes out of it. Potatoes doesn't freeze specifically well after they've been cooked. I also keep rice out of it. It's very easy to cook a bit of rice in a pot on your trip and just add your stew or your curry to that. So lamb stew, chicken stew, beef stews, vegetable curries, they all freeze very well. I've often served things like stir fry, frozen vegetables, frozen cooked meat, because of meat restrictions in some countries. So you can pre-cook your meat, freeze it, and then use it as a stir fry added meat that you put into the stir fry. Bobotie, meatloaf. There's a list of stuff that you can freeze. Cooked vegetables, if you just do nice oven-baked veggies, that can freeze quite well. Just leave the potato out of it. If you leave the potato out of it, then it freezes really easily. So yeah, frozen meals are something that I do quite a lot of, and I rather enjoy doing it because it saves me so much time. I get to camp, I'm busy sorting out the campfire, and I'm busy sorting out other people's stuff, so I don't have time for cooking. And when I get to my stop, I get my food out for the night, get it in my reheating oven, and I reheat it. It takes 20 minutes. After 20 minutes I eat, and I'm often the first person to eat for the night after I've done all the chores that needs to be done, just because I can cut out a few of the headaches of cooking, because I pre-cook stuff and I know what is important and what I need to bring along. Alright, something that people ask me about is how do I store my frozen meals. My frozen meals I, at this moment in time, store in one of these aluminium containers. It's something that you would find at the Macro or Pick n Pay, places like that. And it can hold the protein side of a meal for 2 people. It's large enough. You get bigger tubs, you get smaller tubs, you can vary them depending on the meal that you actually have. But what I do is I will typically just have my meal in one of these tubs. It would be half of vegetables and then a piece of meat or something on the side. Meat that wouldn't mind being heated up in an oven, for example, like a piece of boerewors or a sausage or something like that. Now I use this size specifically because the pot that I use to reheat my food in is this cast iron pot. This cast iron pot is something that's been lying around for a while. It's a little bread pot. I haven't used it for a long time, and it's just straightforward cast iron, nothing funny. It's filthy on the inside with rust and stuff. It's clean, but it's not used for cooking anymore. It's used as an oven. So what I do is I put this on the gas or on the fire, I heat the cast iron, and then I take my meal that needs to be reheated and I pack it inside of this. And I put the lid on, like that, and then it acts as a little oven, and this oven will reheat your food in about 20 minutes. Now the reason I use this size foil is because it doesn't sit right at the bottom. The corners keeps it in the air, and therefore I've got a bit of air cushion at the bottom of the pot. If you had a foil that you would touch the bottom, then you would burn the food at the bottom when you were reheating it. So you want that air cushion of about 1 centimeter or something. If you don't have the right size pot, then just make sure that you buy yourself a grid or something that you can put underneath that lifts the aluminium up from the base. Otherwise it's going to burn at the base of your aluminium pot. You can do reheating in other ways as well, but I found this little Dutch oven style of reheating to work the best for me. Don't add water into your pot. If you add water in the pot, you cool the pot down, because water boils at 100 degrees, so you sit with all the steam and moisture. You don't want that. You don't put water in your oven when you are busy baking something, so stay away from the water. Just use the dry heat. My meal when I get to camp is already defrosted. It's just a question of heating it up. So I would take it out in the morning, I pack it into one of these plastic containers with the airtight lid so that there's no dust coming in, and if the thing falls over there's no liquid spilling out. So I put it into this plastic container and I would leave it somewhere in the vehicle just to defrost during the day. And at night I put this pot on the gas, put the gas on high for about 5 minutes, put my meal in, put the cover on, and then just leave it. I can carry on making fire, just checking in with my guests, making sure everything is fine. 20 minutes later I come back and the meal is ready and hot, and I can have a nice warm meal. have a look around, find a cast iron pot that works for you. You can also do things like Webers, but they take up a lot of space. The cobs, they work well, but they also take up some space, and then you need charcoal and it takes a long time. So a cast iron pot that I can put on gas, I can put on the fire. It's got a cast iron lid, this one, so it makes a nice oven, and it's very good for reheating something inside one of these. You can also use plastic bags. Be sure to use the Tuffy soup bags only. The Tuffy soup bags are very difficult to find, but they are very strong and they don't break on the seams. The Jiffy bags, the normal freezing bags, they're just a little bit flimsy on the seams, and what you do then is you freeze your food inside of the plastic bag, and that plastic bag you leave in a pot of boiling water, and that not boiling water, boiled water, so the water is hot but not boiling. The moment you put the bag inside there, it cools the water down and the heat will go into your food. So if it's a stew or something that you have in a plastic bag, you just dip the whole bag into the boiling water or the boiled water for about half an hour. Same principle, just make sure that the bag doesn't break. The Tuffy soup bags are the ones that don't break in my experience. All the other bags, the Jiffy, the sandwich bags, those things, they can come loose at the seams, and then you have water mingled in with your prime lamb stew that you made. That's why I switched to this system. These days I just take this pot with me. So I've got a pot on the trip. In the case of emergency, I can clean the inside and we can start using it for cooking. Otherwise I just use it as a little Dutch oven. Alright, once your dish is finished, it's a question of taking it out of the oven and letting it cool down. This is one I did a while back, a spinach and butternut vegetable dish. And you can see I just basically scooped it into the aluminium. This is frozen already. Now I just added this in because I had some extra and I just dumped it in there. For this one, this would be for a braai night, for example, when I'm just doing a bit of boerewors or maybe a piece of steak and I feel like a bit of vegetables with it. Then I already have my vegetables, so this is ready. If I wanted to, before I froze it, I would move half of the vegetables over, and I would put a sausage or a piece of boerewors or something in there, freeze it together, and then I have a whole meal included. But in this case, this is just a side dish that I prepared for, as I say, for maybe on a night that we're doing a braai. So just spinach and butternut, and I can heat this up and I can eat it with a piece of steak or some boerewors. The advantage of this is that it is aluminium foil and you can actually put it close to the fire and heat it like that, but then it tends to burn, so I'd rather just put it in my little Dutch oven and heat it in my Dutch oven. So this is a nice meal that I'll have, spinach and butternut together with maybe a piece of steak or even a lamb chop or a piece of boerewors. That's the end result. I hope you enjoy it.